24 hours. Best of luck. I'd done 12 hours and I realized something also. There are certain days where I'm already doing about 12 hours worth of streaming. It's not super often, but it's more often than I could justify just doing a 12-hour stream as a celebration. So I'm going to up the ante, and next time it's going to be 24. My plan for it is going to be a 24-hour world building stream. I'm going to be creating a world from scratch. I'm going to have a brand new world anvil for it. I'm going to be doing lots of writing, lots of, scoping, design, mood board stuff on Pinterest. I'm going to be basically building this thing from the ground up. It's going to be an event. I'm going to make it an event. So when that comes down the pipe, when I hit that 300, that's going to be go time. I'm going to get that scheduled and I'm going to celebrate with everybody. It's going to be great. Excellent. Summoning. Hello. Hi. I hope you enjoyed that little video. That's a new YouTube video that I put up recently. So you can actually find that down in the doobly-doo and there's so much commotion going on outside, and I have people all over the place, all around this building, celebrating the beginning of spring. But anyways, down in the doobly-doo, you can definitely see a link to my YouTube. It's something that is seriously in need of some assistance. Trying to organically get up to the 100 subscriber level to that in order to actually have a unique URL. Part of me keeps wondering if maybe I'm just doing things way too legit and maybe I should cheat. But I don't feel like cheating. I feel like doing it legitimately, and I feel like having actual subscribers is important. Remember that subscriptions on YouTube are free. Does not cost you anything. So, subscriptions on YouTube, YT. Not Twitch. But, by the way, thank you very much, WashTub, for a subscription. I sincerely appreciate it. I want to welcome everybody to another Worldbuilding Wednesday. This is a stream that I guess I just cooked together in under 24 hours, and the reason I didn't have more time to do that is because I've been recovering from many a physical change. One of those things being getting out in the sun a lot and suffering basically lots of sunburn. As you can see, I've recovered from most of it. And two, the fact that I have fully started to reinitiate my regular workout schedule after many months of sad boy winter. And my body is paying for it. There's only so many things that I can get away with during a week without feeling like I need to take a nap all the time. And so my body is getting used to me asserting itself out in public for jogging and things like that. Don't get it twisted. But anyways, yes, tonight's stream is your good old-fashioned chill World Building Wednesday stream. How I usually run these streams is I like to choose very specific topics for me to sort of do a bit of a deep dive or a gloss over, something that becomes the meat and gravy of the stream. But of course, the stream is pretty much the sky's the limit in terms of world building opportunities and projects. This week in particular, I've chosen to utilize this time to talk about and dive into item crafting. Now, before I speak further, I do want to actually get some lo-fi beats playing in the background. There we go. Just so we have a soundtrack going on. Again, I do want to say thank you very much for the subs, and thank you very much, WashTub Scout. I should provide a bit of a status update, because one thing in particular that I said at the beginning of this month was I was going to start setting up goals for myself. And my goal on subs this month was to get 15 total. 1-5. We have Arc Slade 08 rating with a party of 1. Hello, thank you very much for jumping in and hanging out with all of us today. And I sincerely hope that your stream went fantastic. It is good to see new individuals popping in. And you know what? That actually reminds me, I need to set up a shout out. I need to set up a shout out command so that it automatically shouts people out who do rating, because I realize I haven't set that up yet, and that's my bad, because I need to make sure that people are getting applicable attention for hanging out in the chaotic inverse, as it were. But what I might suggest for everyone here, if I'll just manually type it, it's all good. Hey, help a streamer out. You want to, help a streamer out. Make sure to spend some time jumping onto ArcSlade08's channel, seeing what the channel is about, and consider following, consider watching some of those videos. Yes, so as I said before, I said at the beginning of this month that I was setting a sub goal for 15, just 1-5. And the reason is because, gradual growth of the stream and everything. Last month, I was looking at the metrics, and there have been different times when the stream has blown up and different times when the stream has chilled out. Regardless, putting goals, putting progressive things on a pedestal to acquire, to obtain with this stream in order to provide so brain. Anyways, yes, it was 15 because last month it was 14. I'm already at 12, so I think I'm going to be hitting that mark by the end of this month, and I'm very happy. Chances, it may be very possible that 15 will be acquired by the end of this week, because I got tonight's stream and then I got tomorrow's stream. And I would also like to announce that on Sunday, I'm going to be hosting a new world building stream. And this world building stream is going to be coming at the end of presumably at the end of a raid chain through Rolling Together, of which it's possible. I'm holding up to possibility that I might become such a member of such stream team. If that's a thing that takes place, then it's go time, baby. 20 bobbity boo, let's make the magic happen. The other thing, of course, the other goal is reaching the 300 follower goal. As I had played in my previous video just before the stream started, that 300 follower goal is a prerequisite for me to schedule and run a 24-hour stream. I'm getting super excited at the prospect of doing that, because I already got ideas in my head, but I'm refusing to write them down. Because I want it to be more organic than that. I want it to be something that is thrown together during the stream, and so you can kind of see what my process is for world building, and there will be opportunities for chat interaction. There will be opportunities for me to run quick one-shots with people, because that would be super fun, being able to solidify important points in history based upon the actions of certain characters in a one-shot. That would be really great. So lots of potential there, and I want to make it an event. So if, whenever it is I get to 300, then the official scheduling and official announcement for that will be going into effect. On top of that, by the end of this month, I hope to be running a Honey Heist one-shot or two. It all depends upon availability. That's really the only hiccup. But the thing is that I slated it for May, and I'm gonna be running it. I'm gonna be running at least one of those one-shots in May. But scheduling is a challenge. It's typically a challenge, especially if you have individuals who are on different parts of the world with different schedules. So hey, if you've never heard about Honey Heist, let me tell you, there's only a few things you need to learn about a game known as Honey Heist. If you're familiar with D&D or tabletop games, then let me describe it like this. It is a tabletop game without really any rules. The only rules are you have a complex plan that requires precise timing at HoneyCon 2022 to perform a heist for whatever the grand prize is. So that's the first fact. And the second fact is you are a goddamn bear and you are working in a group of bears looking to perform this heist. It requires planning, it requires coordination, and there's going to be shenanigans, no doubt. You have two stats, criminal and bear. That's how simple this game is. So hey, if you have any interest in tuning into that, then I'm going to go ahead and let y'all know that is going to be scheduled very soon, at least one of them. I'm trying to get it slated for Tuesday evening, May 24th at 7 p.m. Central, because it seems like some of the patrons who expressed interest potentially will be available at that time, and then the other patrons are going to be running a one shot at a later time. Probably it's going to be into June, but by the time we get into June, it's going to be a new one shot. So I should switch over, do my adverts, because it's a good lead in to this. Not quite that. It is, which one? Not that one. It is this one. I do have a Patreon, my friends. And the Patreon is not... I'm not necessarily trying to make money. This is not like a profit endeavor. Like, I don't see myself profiting on any of the stuff that I do on YouTube or on the stream or on my website. There's no advertising on my website. There's no advertising pretty much anywhere, for the most part. But these things do have an overhead, right? So my idea with the Patreon is to provide value and rewards to people who are interested in becoming patrons, and your donations through the Patreon help cover some of that overhead, some of those expenses, because there is stuff like, the hosting, the domain name. There's stuff like the, my utilization of particular high-speed internet that goes into this purpose. The reason I'm not going down a tier, I'm staying at the current tiers so that I can do streaming, stuff like that. So ways to sort of help me cover some of those expenses. That's mainly what it's for. But for you, there's a lot more, because there's multiple tiers and multiple things that you get to be provided as a result of that. Things such as the ability to play in certain one-shots that I host monthly, the ability to have access to digital downloads and certain behind the scenes content, as well as shout out capability on YouTube videos and on the stream. So if you're interested in any of those, feel free to go down the doobly-doo, check out the Patreon, and give it a look-see. So I'm gonna let this roll for for a period of time. But there's a lot of things going on in chat right now, so I gotta catch up real quick. So we have Wash Up Scout saying, "Arg matey, thank you very much for popping in. I love the fact that you popped in and that you continue to pop in there, buddy." Deathgate said, "You said you hope to get more subs. How many do you have at the moment?" That's when I said that I presently have 12. 12 of 15, so I'm definitely going to be hitting the mark by the end of this month. And then Phoenix says, "Need to get him to 300 so we can see a tired Chaotic streaming for 24 hours. Yeah, you know, it's going to be a lot of coffee, a lot of tea, some yoga. But I can do it. I don't like. I could be 65 years old and I would still go in. You know, I'd still go ham on that. If we get to 600, it'll be 48 hours, right? No promises, but maybe. Maybe. Is anyone else's feed skipping? Mine skips every 10 seconds or so. It only skips like half a second, but it's just curious. What I learned about streaming on any platform is that a lot of times it has to do with the bit rate. Anytime that I stream at a, if I check my settings really quick here, I stream at a bit rate of 300 kilobits per second. They say the optimal for like high end viewing is 6,000 kilobits per second. But I do the safe thing and do 3,000. And it's supposed to prevent things like stream skipping and stuff like that. But it doesn't always work, and you know, everybody's internet is variable, and sometimes Twitch is you know, throttling and bandwidth and stuff will do crazy things. I will say I've only had about 16 dropped frames so far, so my, hold on a second, I gotta close out my Steam. 30 frames per second, 7.8% CPU. Things are running a-okay on my end. That's all I can tell you. Not getting any skipping. That's what Phoenix says. Deathgate says, "I get that here and there, but it's not the same thing. I want to be a criminal bear." Well, if you want to be a criminal bear, there may be an opportunity at this point for individuals to get involved in that. How it usually works for one-shots, for this Patreon one-shots, is the patrons get first pick of scheduling of like certain classes or roles, and then it's somewhere between a raffle and me just kind of figuring out who else is available. And I usually spread it out, make it different each time, because I mean, the purpose of being a patron at that point is to get the reward of the benefit of having a solid place and having a solid place in those one shots, and so on and so forth. I assumed it's due to me watching this in mobile. Probably. Got it. Is that the $1 patron level? That's actually the $3 patron level. However, Patreon's really cool, and the fact that you, in fact, do not have to be a patron forever. You can, if you can remind yourself, you can unsubscribe, or if you really enjoy supporting a fellow creative, that's always that's a thing too. So it's completely up to you. It is I would say it's a free country, but this is an international stream with international peeps, so it's a free world. You can do what you want, but I appreciate it one way or the other. And of course, you will be part of the shout outs at the beginning and the end of the stream and on YouTube videos that I release. So enjoy supporting a fellow PA member. Well, thank you. I sincerely appreciate that. If anybody out there is curious about what PA is referring to, there is this nifty little community called Project Aurora, MMO D&D experience. otherwise known as a living universe setting. So just imagine a Dungeons and Dragons Discord where there are a big handful of campaigns that run, and they all take place in the same universe. And some characters will find themselves in other campaigns, and things that affect one campaign will affect another campaign. Things are interconnected. It's like bread and butter, like toast and jam, like Cheerios and milk and lots of sugar. Whatever breakfast you prefer. Eggs, bacon, hash browns, you get it. So, let's pump up the music a little bit. Okay, cool. Anyways, this whole thing that's been rolling, that's my website, so go check it out. That's in the links over there. I have a couple new things. There's a a heroic title generator, which was actually created on stream a number of months ago. So finally got around to posting it. Feel free to check it out. It is a very fun thing for me to make random name generators, and there's a whole bunch on that website. So feel free to check them out, and there's going to be more and new ones coming out in the future. But I digress. It's time to get into the meat and gravy of tonight's subject. I believe there is okay, I want to make sure I do this correctly, because there is like 50 different windows open. Gotta move things around on my stream so I don't end up accidentally doxing myself. Thank you very much. All right, I think I got that figured out. Let's hit that. From the beginning. Let's go. So, I gotta be at least partway honest with most of y'all. Tonight's subject is one that maybe this is not my bread and butter, which is the history of alchemy. It's just talking about alchemy and then taking bits and pieces of the general knowledge of alchemy as it is considered in real life, and kind of taking a review and trying to pluck out some interesting ideas from it for world building purposes. That's why I run topics like that. So, as we pivot over to our presentation screen, we will be discussing the history of alchemy. Also, Death Gauge XYZ says, I enjoy my Cheerios with the leftover bacon grease personally. Hey, maybe not Cheerios, but I do make bacon pancakes, and I do, in other words, bacon grease, and then do the pancakes in the bacon grease. I've done that before. It's actually not that bad, but yes, it's greasy. So that's more of a confession than anything. It makes you really think about the healthy nature of things taught in things like Adventure Time. Bacon pancakes, making bacon pancakes. Anyways, for all of you that just popped in, once again, welcome to the stream. Tonight's particular topic that I will be covering, in brief, to be honest, is the history of alchemy. Once again, we are doing this for the sake of just doing a very high-level, eagle-eyed historical review on what is alchemy, and taking some interesting nuggets of information from it, things that we can adapt into our understanding of alchemy as it comes to other things, such as alchemy as a function in, certain fantasy fiction writings, or alchemy as a function in pop culture, alchemy as a function in tabletop games especially. So getting a premise on that can help us, be more descriptive and be more thoughtful and descriptive with how alchemy is represented in other things. What this is not N-O-T. What this is not is a pseudoscientific seminar. I am a science... I'm a pro-science person, and we are not going to talk about any legitimacy of alchemy except for the things that it may have discovered that was really just chemistry. So my pretense is that I am not going to speak to any of the material in any regards to fact, because I do not believe in that. But after that, we're gonna wind it to a completely different topic, and that's how to craft items and how to improve the crafting experience in Dungeons and Dragons in particular, but tabletop games in general. So with these two big subjects in mind, basically a lot about crafting, taking more than one thing and putting them together. It is a stream about creation, about manifestation, about transmutation. Speaking about creation and transmutation, what is the opposite of creation? Well, that's destruction. And if you feel the need for destruction this evening, then I have good news for you. There is a game called Stream Raiders. And if you're interested in playing Stream Raiders tonight, I will be hosting Stream Raiders for the few hours that this stream is ongoing. So feel free, my friends, as I set up the Stream Raiders game to join in. It should be just a few moments for me to do so. But first thing is first. Let's get into the subject. Now, as a lot of us already know, the concept of alchemy has existed since ancient times. Phoenix V says, yeah, I need to see how it all functions in D&D. We're going to be definitely taking a deep dive into that. Death Gauge XYZ says, take some bacon and you put it in a pancake. Bacon pancakes, making bacon pancakes. That's an alchemical formula, my friends. We are on point and we are on task. And then we have Madra. Hello. Thank you very much for popping in and saying hello. I'm bouncing around here, but if you do not mind me bouncing around a whole bunch, I'm going to choose the next, or that is to say the first town in a particular event on Stream Raiders, and hopefully you ought to see an invitation to join Stream Raiders shortly. Haha! I've selected a battle. So, in chat, if you click on that link and you log in, then we can begin to play Stream Raiders as I'm going through the topic here. Now, if you've never played Stream Raiders before, let me tell you, this is a fantastic opportunity for you to get involved in a raid against vile enemies that wish to bring down civilization. So, I'm going to kick this bad boy off. Let's see here. I'm going to kick this bad boy off with a souped up Centurion. Oh, we got Phoenix V already in the game. Who are we fighting against? Cyber Doll Sniper. Ooh. All right, we got some cyberpunk themed stuff going on. I'm gonna throw down an artillery. So once again, please click on the link, consider joining Stream Raiders, and remember to get your units in as we go along. However, without further ado, let's get back to the subject at hand. So, boom. According to pop culture, alchemy is more than just an individual taking individual vials and pouring them into each other and having green puffs of smoke come up. Alchemy over the course of history has been considered something akin to magic in ancient times. The whole thought of being able to take two things, put them together, and turn it into something else, transmutation. And that act of transmutation, of course, has enabled some interesting, borderline magical feats from individuals in pop culture, at least. So, what I have here is a small assortment of individuals that show up in pop culture that are alchemists. In this case, I'm trying to remember the name of the person in the upper left, but I think the dude's name is Scar. Listen, I've never actually watched Full Metal Alchemist. This is sort of why, like, the alchemy topic's a little out of my league here. But aside from that, we have the Evil Queen from Snow White and from Disney. But then we also have Gandalf. If I remember a lot of the Harry Potter books and Harry Potter movies, Gandalf, of course, is sort of a Swiss Army knife of wizardry. But alchemy is something that is represented in a lot of the sort of magics that are performed at Hogwarts. There is, a lot of magic that can be done with a verbal component and a wand, but there's a bunch of magic that requires components being combined together. So, as you can see in that particular scene, it's him taking memories and putting it in a particular pool where those memories are stored or deteriorated one way or another. And then, of course, we have Ra's al Ghul, who is, aside from being a supervillain in the DC universe, Ra's al Ghul is considered an alchemist. An alchemist by way of utilizing the capabilities of by taking chemicals and using them for certain psychedelic effects on his enemies, along with the fact that he is a very monk type when you really think about it. And then we have Ivy Valentine from Soul Calibur. Fun fact, anybody who's familiar with Soul Calibur, usually Ivy Valentine is considered to be, more of the... Ivy Valentine is an iconic character for reasons that you probably guess. But also, backstory is that Ivy Valentine is an alchemist. And it goes into a lot of the reasons why she is trying to acquire the Soul Calibur. And Ivy Valentine, from a high level, is not considered a protagonist by any means. It is for certain transmutational effects that she is trying to acquire, the things that she's trying to acquire in the story of that game. And then finally, we have Victor Frankenstein from Mary Shelley's Frankenstein fame. Death Gauge XYZ says, stream skipping is unbearable. I'll try to catch the next one. Enjoy, friends, and keep up the good work, man. I sincerely appreciate it. Thank you very much. I apologize that it didn't work out for the mobile platform. I do apologize if there's anything here I can make to improve it, but I know, as I mentioned, everything here seems to be running a-okay for the most part, and I am running on fiber internet. I guess I don't know how else to downstream. Who knows? I hope it improves in the future. Phoenix Beast says, hopefully it's just a mobile problem. That's what I'm thinking. Never watched Full Metal Alchemist, but I know I have to do that one cosplay with my niece. Me with a lab coat, glasses, and my niece in a dog costume. That does sound like a pretty fantastic cosplay idea. Supervillain, from a certain point of view. He was not wrong in his views, at least with the Liam Neeson adaptation. Yeah, I mean, I feel like the best of villains in pop culture are ones where when they try to explain their philosophy, you're kind of like, whoa, huh, that's interesting, right? So having that capability is sort of a, that's definitely a buff, a big plus for anybody who is trying to create a villain, is if you can instigate that. Let's see, we have units being piled on here in the Stream Raiders game, but let's move it forward. Boop, 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 boom. Now, this pretty much chilling as the background as I gotta adjust my chat because I do realize that things are a little wonky with my chat window. Left chat. Let's go, let's go. It's called Chatbox 2. Oh no! Yep, time to fix that. The width is actually supposed to be something like 400? Maybe a little bit more like that. Oh, even smaller. Let's go 300. Height is about 600. That's a little bit better. A little bit, at least. Cool. All right, all right. Anyways, this is where I read to you. There are particular sources that I'm pulling some of this information from. One of them is an unironic webpage from the University of Bristol School of Chemistry. One of them is an article from Britannica.com. One of them is breakingatom.com. And so bits and pieces. However, sorry, I'm itching my nose a lot. Anyways, Alchemy is an art that was born in ancient Egypt originally, where the word chem was used in reference to the fertility of the floodplains around the Nile. Don't X me. Donk X me. I thought it said don't X me. Hey, thank you very much for following. I do sincerely appreciate it. We are one closer to that 300. So hey, any follow at this point is like, it is cherished with a big ol' hug and a salute from me to you. So thank you for joining in on the festivities. So as I mentioned, alchemy comes from the word chem, the floodplains of the Nile. Egyptian beliefs in life and death and the mummification procedures they developed probably give rise to rudimentary chemical knowledge and a goal of immortality. There's no need to participate in alchemy unless there is a very fundamental goal to that. Also, thank you very much to the Lady Writes. Thank you. I sincerely appreciate it. I should also mention that, let's see, stream labels need to get updated. So that latest follower, boom, there we go. Latest cheer, latest follower. The 1-2 punch of support. I sincerely appreciate it, the Lady Writes. I've popped in on your stream a few times and I have enjoyed it. So thank you very much for popping in on mine. I also sincerely appreciate the 100 bits, 100%. So where was I? Yes, alchemy is the basis for chemistry. It's a rudimentary form of chemistry that is not based on necessarily any scientific understanding. Most of the scientific understanding that we have in terms of even the word science is Enlightenment era discovery. Before that, discoveries like that were held in a sort of much more philosophical and much more spiritual sense. And on top of that, for instance, where alchemy was originally born in ancient Egypt, in the region of Kem, which is the floodplains around the Nile, the Greek views of how matter was made up, which is the four elements, fire, earth, air, and water, managed to come together with this Egyptian understanding of alchemy, which resulted in the word chemia, which is the Greek word for Egypt. On top of that, when the Arab peoples came in later, they added al to the beginning of that. So now you understand where the word alchemy comes from. It is a collaboration between many different cultures, some of them meeting mutually and some of them conquering another, as history often tells us. But of course, it wasn't only in this location. Alchemy was also developed independently in China and in India. And it had to, because humankind needed to have some sort of way of creating greater things out of separate elements. For instance, Taoist monks, they pursued the outer elixir and the inner elixir. The former one being minerals, plants, etc., which could prolong life, and the latter being the use of exercise techniques, such as, I believe that is pronounced Qigong, or it's QI, so I think it's Qigong, to manipulate the qi, or life force, of the body. One major component of alchemy was how these compounds affected the body itself. So it was out of a desire to find ways to heal, ways to improve the health, ways to enhance the body, which sort of snowballed into this general idea that such a practice could result in eventual immortality. Now, of course, the next slide here. Feel free to yell at me if you feel like this is an unnecessary thing. But just because of how I was feeling about doing this as a slideshow, I have multiple slides that say pseudoscience checkpoint because it's my opportunity to remind everyone that what we're talking about is pseudoscience. This is not a stream to condone any particular pseudoscientific art, but I do have to acknowledge that alchemy is still the precursor to chemistry, and you need to crawl before you can walk. You need to walk before you can run. However, if there is any particular thing I do want to emphasize is we're looking very specifically at historical recognition of it. This is not talking about modern spiritualism. So with that out of the way, look at this fantastic image of drawings of fungi and plants, and look at that. Ooh, look at that beautiful potion with the skull behind it. It really gives the aura that we need to talk about something like chemistry and alchemy. Also, thank you very much for the hydrate. You need to have legs before you can crawl too. Yeah, but I'm thinking when human beings were just tadpoles trying to crawl up on land for the first time. I don't know if alchemy or chemistry or science or whatever was first and foremost on their mind. It was probably like, oh, there's food on this sand. Look there's more food, So, anyways, I digress. Where do my notes go? So there's sort of a Taoist. Also, I want to cringe a little bit because I have the sudden inclination that I'm pronouncing Taoist wrong. I'm saying Taoist. I don't know. I do this often, and unfortunately, I just need to. But I'm self-acknowledging the fact that I'm not good at pronouncing things, so that's fine. India, aside from China, also developed alchemy independently. Beliefs similar to the Chinese. They used external and internal methods to purify the body, and this was more specifically to prolong life. And they had a measured history of using different herbs, different compounds to help get over certain ailments and improve the body. And there have been rudimentary records of people living longer for using these methods. Ultimately, the introduction of alchemy to the West came in about the 8th century when the Arabs brought it to Spain. From here, it quickly spread to the rest of Europe. The Arabian belief was that metals are made up of mercury and sulfur in varying proportions. Gold was seen as the perfect metal, and all others were less perfect. An idea among Western alchemists. It was very popular of an idea that these lower metals could be transmuted into gold by means of a substance known as a philosopher's stone, or the philosopher's stone. Google pronounces your friend. It is my friend. As a matter of fact, yeah, you're completely right. Google pronounce. Let's see what Google has to say. Let's actually get a
Taoist.
It's Taoist. I knew it was not with a T. And actually, I feel like I knew that in the past, but just forgot. Taoist. Cool. Excellent. So I think actually is a good idea. I think now and in the future, I'm going to have Google pronounce with me. That's going to be pretty key. As we take a look really quick at our Stream Raiders game, boom, what do we got? We have a number of individuals here within the 10-minute mark who are about to join the Great Rampage against a number of... Wait a sec. Is that the only individual we're fighting right now? What? What? You're already fighting one monster? Well, you know what? It's a level 5 monster. So I think we got 9 minutes left. I'm going to give it this last moment for people to throw in their units, and then I'm going to start early so that we can go on to the next match. So, get your units in, my friends. In the meantime, let me serenade you with some more facts. In Europe, alchemy led to the discovery of manufacture of amalgams, alloys, and advances in many other chemical processes and the apparatus required for them. Eventually, by the 16th century, the alchemists in Europe had separated into two groups. The first group focused on the discovery of new compounds and their reactions, leading to what is now known as the science of chemistry. The second continued to look at the more spiritual, metaphysical side of alchemy, continuing to the search for immortality and the transmutation of base metals into gold. Which is why there is a modern day idea of alchemy. No comment. Ultimately, if we look at Britannica.com, it states that alchemy is the pseudoscience focused on the attempt to change base metals into gold. They believe that under correct astrological conditions, also, it is noteworthy for me to mention that alchemy ties into other forms of spiritualism and such. So we will get that to do in just a moment, but it seems like we are all ramped up and ready to go. It's time to start early and see what the battle will be. So everyone, please, you got 10 seconds to get your units in. And that's going to be 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we're off. We're starting early, my friends. Boom. Battle begins. Oh, that was a quick one. All I needed to do was turn my head and turn back. And already, I feel ashamed. My artillery person took out the one unit. Well, okay, they gave us something that was way too early. Way too easy. So, I'm going to pick a winner. And I think we're going to base it randomly. First, more coins for the viewers. That's going to be most important. Second, I'm going to provide the Lady Rights Healer, and I'm going to provide the Great Emperor of Fen. The next, I will grant rewards. Phoenix, you are on the way, my friends. Trust me, trust me. All right, I need something difficult. Let's go 2 skulls. Let's do this, starting the battle. I'm going to not take an offensive unit. I'm going to do a shield bearer instead. And I'm going to leave the attack to you. So, in this section, in this metropolis of the great country of Nippon, we have ghostly sellswords that are standing in our way. And like a duel, ready to brew to its ultimate climax, we are gathering together in order to lay down an attack, in order to achieve greatness and move to the next map. So, this one's going to be even shorter, I think, because I'm pretty sure that all y'all have fantastic... Look it, we got Lady Rights with the epic volatile buster level 30. And then we got Phoenix V, Gingerbread, Tank level 11. I might end up starting this one early after like 5 or 10 minutes, but in due time. We need to get back to our subject. So what can we learn from some of this information? Well, what we have learned is that different cultures saw alchemy as a way of improving the body through the creation of potions, poultices, herbal supplements, I guess you can say, enhancements for the body, things that could provide healing for the body, on top of a perception that these things could eventually create immortality. The other side of it is taking of metals and forging them together. Taking of different components and putting them together to create something greater. This particular image is sort of a representation of both when you think of it. You have earth, water, air, fire. The combination of earth and water is salt. Air and fire is Nyler. Water and air is Mercury. Onward and upward. Oh, we can skip that. I already. All right. Here's a fancy image of an alchemist trying to create a fantastic amalgamation out of base materials. One other thing that's worth mentioning is the medieval European alchemists, which you could kind of see this individual as a medieval European alchemist, made some useful discoveries, including mineral acids and alcohol. The revival led to the development of pharmacology. So, which makes perfect sense. You have apothecaries. You have apothecaries turning into pharmacies. Old style pharmacies from about 100 to about 150 years ago were literally individuals who had jars of different compounds and knew the precise mixture of putting them together and like grinding it up and doing personalized prescriptions for people. Even if you go back 100 to 150 years, that has the same vibe as an apothecary. Somebody who also has an extensive knowledge, probably has tomes of what different plants do, different tomes about metals and how they react with one another and how different compounds react with one another. And learning this allows for other scientific things to happen. It allows for us to be able to do things like create electricity, like via batteries, or create alloys out of independent elements. If it wasn't for alchemical experimentation, we would not have even stronger and stronger metals to create the armor and swords and all of the necessary things that we used metal for such a long time. People in the chat, time to recap. Lady Wright says, lurking and feeding kitties. Lurk away. Lurk away. Phoenix V says, oh, from the Harry Potter universe too. Or maybe that book was the inspiration for the Deathly Hallows. Simplified, the aims of alchemists were threefold: to find the Stone of Knowledge, or the Philosopher's Stone. Basically, they thought that there was a key material that would be able to turn whatever you needed into gold, which it's sort of, nowadays we look at gold and we kind of think of it as it holding value. But gold was seen as a mystical element. It was seen as something that pervaded, like it was more than just value. It was something that literally represented the purity of metal, or the purity of stones. So, what are some insights from this? Well, let's draw some insights. I imagine if one were to create an alchemist in a setting that we were to world build, or create alchemy in a setting that we were looking to world build, it would be somebody who is a scholar, who is knowledgeable about magics, but more concerned with the desire to understand the physical realm and how far you can take the physical realm and push it to its limit, infusing it potentially with magic, with this whatever you want to call the undercurrent of magical energy. So if one were to see, if one were to see an alchemist, it would, no doubt, especially at that time when people were not necessarily the most learned individuals, it would be seen with an aura of mysticism. It would be seen with a sense of mystery. And even today, when you really think about it, individuals within the science community that are able to, for instance, figure out how to split the atom, we don't know the science. We personally don't know the extensive science and equations to make that happen. And so there is this sense of knowledgeable authority, this gap between the layperson and the smartest individuals, who understand the powers residing in the fabric of our actual reality and in the material understanding of the world. And so on top of that, when you really think about alchemists, they are also they're also likely to be very superstitious individuals. Usually in a fantasy fiction setting, when there is a lot of magic, it's hard to be superstitious. I think maybe it's hard to be superstitious. Let's have a debate on this, actually. Because you have low magic worlds and then you have high magic worlds. In a low magic world, magic is rare. It's something that does not appear often. It's something that is very secretive. It's something that maybe has an extremely high cost. And so the practices required in order to perform magic are possibly extreme and difficult to perform. And those who believe that they can reach out and find this magical power, they're likely to take on a lot of superstitious beliefs and traits about how certain rituals occur, or how they're supposed to occur, and thoughts about if something doesn't work, if something does work. In the same way that an individual in actual medieval times might waltz into town and try to spin tales about the ghastly about the ghastly creatures in the deep forest beyond the fog, and that in order to not be consumed by one of them, you have to leave a particular tree branch and a dead bird upon a stone, and sit next to the stone with your back turned to it, and wait for the creature to leave and take it, or to approach and take it. You know, stuff like that. However, that's in a low magic world. In a high magic world, would there be superstition? Probably, because you can. It's sort of like, it's a little bit like Spider-Man, Far From Home, when you think about it. How Mysterio, the villain, at the very end is, nowadays anybody will believe in anything. Well, if magic is everywhere, you'll believe that even the most mundane things are probably magical. So I think superstition could happen in either a high or a low magic setting. I would estimate that if you are somebody who is a magician, you are the substitute for what would typically be considered a scientist in that setting. And so you would be somebody who is of deep learning. There's probably a lot of tomes. You probably read a ridiculous number of tomes when it comes to, the transmutation of items, to the properties of metal and how they interact with other metals, or how certain herbs have certain effects on the body. And probably in that magical world, if you have multiple different races, it might have depictions in how different herbs affect different races differently, even. Once again, when we're saying races, we're talking about elf, dwarf, and all of that. We have Phoenix V says, can be considered a scholar. You could actually, because you have a high intelligence score. I would guesstimate that Orgoth from Tales of Cyclasia, that's my stream from tomorrow, that is my stream from Thursdays, that Orgoth is a wizard. You have a high intelligence score. Being part of the Bloodsingers probably involved a lot of time studying books and understanding the nature of elements, trying to get an understanding of transmutation. So I wouldn't put it beyond you to, begin looking at alchemy as a skill in your Dungeons and Dragons character. What's the difference between crafting for alchemy and the subclass alchemist for artificer? We can definitely dig into that. Before we do so. So, here's a fun example of a reference guide that I found of the different symbols for different elements and different symbols that one might find upon a particular document with certain recipe or instruction on how to create a compound or create a potis or create some sort of amalgam of different things. I would presume that if you are an alchemist, you are somebody that is very used to these symbols. If you find any of these symbols depicted anywhere, you sort of already know a lot of their origin. You know a lot about what they represent, and it might give you a sense of, might give you an edge on your knowledge if, for instance, you're trying to depict if something is a trap, maybe it's a ward, magical trap of some sort, or if there is some sort of, for instance, if you're trying to identify any materials that have been handled by a wizard, a sorcerer, a warlock, or a scholar, or anybody dealing in alchemy, that you might have crates or barrels that have a particular symbol on them to represent a component or represent, as sort of an identifier for what sort of materials are inside of it. And so I imagine, for instance, if you wanted to know if there could be a system for labeling things, if there was a barrel that had a flammable substance within, it might be marked with the triangle fire symbol. It might be marked with, let's see, what else is here? Maybe marked with the brimstone symbol, if it's something that is, it's like imagine like a Greek fire compound inside of a barrel that's ready to be used. So that is, so that's another way that these symbols could manifest in a particular world. I am somebody that I love symbols, to be honest. I think they're very, very appealing to look at, to kind of understand what it is they represent or are supposed to represent. Is very pleasing to the eye and to the brain. And so, if one were to train in these, if one were to perform magic in a fantasy setting, there is likely some need to draw some of these symbols in combination with one another, or draw them within a sacred geometry form. Likely, and this is how one would typically see representations of it, is in fantasy fiction, and a lot of fantasy fiction you'll find this, where there are depictions of a sacred geometric form with all sorts of all sorts of different shapes within a circle, but different points of it, or within or in between different lines, there will be some of these alchemical symbols, or it'll be meshed into part of that sacred geometry. And that is sort of, when you really think about it, is sort of like that sacred geometric symbol is like a framework, or it's like a plate. Think about like a platter. You could put anything on that platter. You could put a pizza on that platter. You can put your favorite wine in a wine glass on that platter. So where the sacred geometrical shape with the circle with all of the shapes within is the platter, then all of a sudden the symbols is what is actually on that platter and trying to manifest it. So that's a way that you could actually think of how magic is represented in how it could be depicted graphically in fantasy fiction or in D&D or whatever it may be. Popping in again into chat. True, plus he did get training from that orc shaman we helped with Zug. Absolutely. Lady writes, once again, just mentioning you were lurking. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Lurk away. You are free to do so. Well, training in... so Phoenix V says, well, training in rituals, of course, nothing too powerful. Phoenix V says, interesting symbols. The symbol of silver is interesting, a dark crescent. Which one is that? Yes, a dark crescent. Not to be confused with the moon, but it makes sense, doesn't it? Because the moon is sort of a silvery color. And so, and this is just some of the examples. So I think if you're somebody who has a character that you know performs magic in one way or another, then they would definitely know what these symbols are, and they would definitely be able to take a look at a beacon or a ward or a sacred geometric amalgamation, and be able to depict or try to decipher what it means the same way that an archaeologist could decipher hieroglyphs. I think that would make for a pretty descriptive magic system. Being able to actually put some weight into it. When you really think about it, I don't know if anybody here is familiar with Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn. I've read a few of the books, and I love that series. It is a very unique and very awesome magic system that has to do with alloys. Basically ingesting and burning those alloys. And when you burn those alloys in your body, it does different things. It manipulates space-time in one way or another. When you think about it, it's more manipulates space than it does time. But like, you can propel things in a direct line from you, sort of like an anti-gravity, like you're the center of gravity and you're propelling it away as anti-gravity, or pulling it towards you. You can, when you really think about it, then like a larger object, you can push it, you quote unquote push it away from you, basically sending you flying up in the air. And that's how some individuals get around in that setting, by pushing themselves off against metal buildings, especially if you read the second trilogy. It's really awesome. All sorts of fun things. So once again, that is the author is Brandon Sanderson. Really great author. Took over for Robert Jordan after Robert Jordan passed away. I think that's accurate. When it came, so like Brandon Sanderson wrote the final Wheel of Time books, essentially. Hold on a sec. Mistborn. There we go. Um, anyways, how that works into alchemy? Well, that's the thing is when we're talking about alchemy, it's sort of inseparable from the idea of magic, right? At least in a fantasy fiction context. So the next slide I have here, I can stop at the pseudoscience checkpoints. We understand we're talking about alchemy, and alchemy is from a historic context and a fantasy fiction context. So I have a few interesting images here of it's just individuals. Like there's an elf, there's a silver-haired human it looks like, there's a black-haired human it looks like, and they're all combining, they're all doing alchemy in conjunction with magic. So what sort of things do we see on the desks of some of these images? Well, I will tell you so you don't have to actually see it. We see, if we're looking at the individuals themselves first, we have individuals who are very well versed in the creation of potions, tinctures, and other chemical compounds. You'll notice that the elf has a strap around their arm with 3 different vials that are stoppered, and it's 3 different colors: red, blue, and yellow. What they could be, who can possibly guess? You have the natural, red and blue potion at their belt. They are holding a green potion that seems to have all sorts of irradiating aura around it, as they are going through a book reviewing a bunch of different herbs that are within the tome, some individual pictures, along with a lot of text. Now, one thing I did forget about is, hey, we're playing a whole game of Stream Raiders. So let's pivot over to that real quick. I said I was gonna start early, but I already let the thing sort of sit for a little bit. What do we have? We have some alchemy individuals in there already. So I'm gonna count down from 10 again, and then we are going to engage in the next bout. This is gonna go quickly, so let's count down. It's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It is time. Brandish your weapons. Stand at the front of battle, for we are about to become victorious. Let not a single individual stop us from creating the victory necessary to reach the next milestone. Let's go. Preparing for battle. 3, 2, 1. Oh, we got the Lady Wrights running really quickly with the epic volatile buster. Bang! Just, I figured that it was going to be that quick too. It just runs right in, blows up. On the subject of alchemy. Great job, great job. The Lady Wrights, 3 kills and nobody's got assists, of course. We do Lady Wrights. You get times 10 gold. There you go. Everybody gets 5 gold each. Boom. That was a quick one. What I really need, oh, there we go. 4 skulls. We need to up the ante. We need difficulty. So, once again, we are beginning yet another round of Stream Raiders. If you are interested in joining in this round of Stream Raiders, please pop over to chat. Click on the link that is popped up in chat and add your units. So far, what do we have? We have a number of Cyber Doll Snipers. We have Ghastly Sellsword, and then we have individuals called Bobblers. In any case, they are in the way of victory. And we need to cleanse this city of their foul influence. So, Join one, join all. Click on the Stream Raiders link and add your units to the battle. And we will revisit in due time. But remember to revisit and to continue adding your units as time goes on. So far, we got Phoenix V with 1 unit, me with 1 unit, the Great Emperor Fen, and then Kanye from East. So let them create the necessary conditions for victory, and we will return to our discussion about alchemy. So, going onward, what are some other things that we see? What's funny here is that there's some sort of things that give sort of a WTF vibe from this image, because there is a jar that's full of, I mean, it's not graphic, it's more cartoony, but it's a jar full of eyeballs. I wonder what those eyeballs are from. What exactly do you hope to gain from eyeballs? It would actually be I want to say to Phoenix V, the individual who plays Orgoth, this would be a pretty interesting and pretty fun way to run alchemy for your character, is to go around and gather these particular components. That would be a very fun and interesting skill challenge. Now that I'm looking at the jar of eyeballs. So, but of course, there's also likely to be some apothecaries in some places for you to purchase some of them. What else we have? We have some things I can't quite identify, but we have long beakers with red liquid. We got small beakers with blue liquid. We got one with purple liquid. In the back, it looks like something is actively brewing on a stand above a burner of sorts. We have, that sort of looks like an alms box of sorts. Somebody who, the funny part is, like, somebody who has a plate of what appears to be some sort of powdered substance, some sort of item that looks like a necklace or like a watch, but it seems interesting. It seems like that's like an arcane focus almost when you think about it. It's this pendant that has, like, I imagine it's going to have a bunch of alchemical symbols around the pendant. You have a magnifying glass. You have other tomes. You have an individual in the background. What are they wearing? They seem to be wearing stuff that's jewel encrusted. They have a small dagger. They have something that's clearly a staff for casting spells, and they're holding a red beaker with a wisp flying out of it with a skull shape. It's kind of fun. And then the other image I have is, I guess you can say, a more studious mage type who's literally holding an object as it is glowing green and sort of wasting away, maybe some sort of necrotic or transmutational experiment or something. A lot of smoke coming off of it. I don't imagine being an alchemist, even if it's, in fantasy fiction, I don't imagine it's a completely safe endeavor. And here's the thing. In real life, we have to worry about things like lead poisoning. We got to worry about things like radiation sickness, and we have to worry about hard metals, heavy metals getting into the water, and possibly contaminating ourselves with all sorts of, like, contaminating ourselves with, I'm trying to figure out what the name of that disease is. It was a big prominent disease in cholera, or cholera, or some other disease, or it's really interesting all of a sudden to think about what sort of things an alchemist could do that's like dangerous to the alchemist, right? Um, will they accidentally turn their hand into bone? Will it like wear their hand away and they have this like, that it was an alchemical accident, right? Um, but they can still move it around like an undead bone hand. And they probably they have to strap the hand down before they go to bed because the hand will try to like when they try to sleep, like they've had issues where they try to go to sleep and that hand the hand crawls up and tries to choke them in the middle of the night and stuff like that. Fun. And then maybe I wonder if there are like certain I wonder if there are certain ailments that are very specific um to the realm of alchemy. What if there's certain like sicknesses or illnesses that are typical of people that perform alchemy? Um, that's not seen much in a D&D setting, but it definitely makes you think about what the risks are, even as somebody who is a learned alchemist. If something goes wrong, think about if, like, say you're the king's poisoner or whatever. Um, yeah, if that's your profession, uh, I wonder what your life expectancy is. I'm just saying, just saying. Um, anyhow, let's start up the music again. Phoenix V says that's the plan. Pick the hair of a halfling. Picking the hair of a halfling's foot. Oh, I'm gonna have to create some sort of table. Tough to say for the eyes. Kept searching, but it's for totally different potions depending on the franchise. In D&D settings, I can see the alchemist going insane eventually. What do you think? What do you think, Phoenix? Do you think Orgoth is insane? You think Orgoth has lost sense of space and time? Continuing on Stream Raiders, we got 2 units per individual. But we have quite a ways to go, so we're going to have to go through the full 21 minutes of accumulating units to make sure and to ensure that we can get over this challenge in our Stream Raiders game. Phoenix V says, Orgoth already is. So those are some things that we can see here. Now behind, it would make total sense. This is some sort of laboratory where there has to be a lot of storage for this stuff, because everything that we see on the table is stuff actively being used, but behind there are like small tote boxes where you imagine a bunch of stuff would be stored. And of course, I highly doubt that a place such as this would be without a window, because it is very likely that individuals that spend the majority of their day learning these things, and individuals spending majority of their day trying to create potions, probably wouldn't do well in a room without windows. They spend a lot of hours in that room. So one challenging thing here is if you are somebody that engages in alchemy, you do need your own place to do it. So that might be its own challenge, but of course there is sort of a back room in the Roxine company building which can be used for that purpose. So that might be something for Orgoth to do as well. Phoenix V says, wonder what that red potion with the skull is. Poison or a debuff for the enemy? Seems like some sort of debuff. I imagine like the spell Bane, something like that. All right, so the next image I have is, these are I guess you can say more old-timey images for the most part. Basically a bunch of white bearded old white guys sitting around, plucked from history here and there, from old art. The kind of things that they have on, in their laboratories is very similar, probably a little less extravagant than the fantasy fiction image that we were looking at. But you're looking at tomes. Somebody has a very, very large liquid container of glass, which is boiling and feeding into a smaller container. So like trying to distill something out of the batch, it looks like. And then of course we got an hourglass. We have all sorts of different beakers. On another image we have things like for some reason somebody put an actual globe on the middle of their desk. I wonder what that has anything to do with when it comes to doing alchemy. But I imagine if you had constellations on that might speak to some information. And I also imagine, and it makes complete sense to me, that if you're somebody who spends a lot of time indoors and you're an alchemist, something like that, chances are you are not a tidy person. Especially if it's your spot. If this is your place in your lab, there's probably stuff strewn about throughout the entire lab. Full stop. So, that is also something to consider if you have a character that is an alchemist, or you want to play a character in a tabletop game that is an alchemist, and they have their own laboratory. It's probably cluttered. They're probably a hoarder in one way or another. And of course, they're all reading books or trying to combine things together. These are the typical ideas. Also, every single one of these rooms has a window. So that's another detail here. Let's move on to the next slide. So there was a couple interesting pieces I wanted to share, some stuff that I discovered. Apparently, Elizabeth I was an alchemist. In the modern age and Renaissance, in England in particular, the topic of alchemy in that time frame is often associated with an individual named Dr. John Dee, better known for his role as an astrologer, cryptographer, and general scientific consultant. That's also something that pops out of my head, is if you really think about how things work in like the modern workplace, right? How a lot of people go to college or university and then they go find a job someplace, or they do consulting, and they have contacts from their university days that they come back to and stuff like that, that they have, drinks with or whatever. Then all of that entire dynamic is something to add on to the backstory of an alchemist, if you want to have an alchemist character. So, astrologer, cryptographer, and general scientific consultant. I also imagine that if you're somebody who's into alchemy, you're into all sorts of other things. So, Dee was considered an authority on the works of a person named Roger Bacon, and was interested enough in alchemy to write a book on that subject. Who claimed to converse with angels. Dee's associate, Edward Kelly, who claimed to converse with angels through a crystal ball, and to own a powder that would turn mercury into gold, may have been the source of the popular image of the alchemist charlatan. Getting a little bit of hydration here. There's also a Polish alchemist by the name of Michael Sindybowicz, bogus, but once again, we're going to use Google Pronounce for that. Google, pronounce this. How to pronounce this?
Sendivogius.
Sendivogius. Cool. Thank you. Michael Sendivogius, Polish alchemist, philosopher, medical doctor, and pioneer of chemistry. According to some accounts, he distilled oxygen in a lab sometime around 1600, 170 years before Scheele and Priestley by warming saltpeter. Thought of the gas giving off as the elixir of life. Shortly after discovering this method, it is believed that he taught this technique to some other person who practically applied this in a submarine. I imagine also that alchemists are doing alchemists in fantasy fiction are doing experiments all the time. Kooky experiments that probably have no basis in how things work, but for science, quote unquote, for magic, they're likely to find themselves in certain locations or situations where they feel like it will have a certain effect on how the results of their experiments will work. I feel like it would be a really fun idea to play an alchemist character in D&D who is keenly always coming up with crazy experiment ideas and is always trying to find a way to initiate them in the midst of the adventures that the party takes in. So like all of a sudden, if the party walks through a room that has a bunch of I'm trying to figure out an example. Oh, I don't have an example. Then of course Robert Boyle, better for known for experiments with different gases. But this individual would note that the place in which the experiment was carried out, the wind characteristics, the position of the sun and moon. So even the time when it was slowly becoming modern chemistry, certain individuals had just sort of guessed or just presumed that certain things that were clearly not true, discovered not to be true, were true. If you go further back than that, I'm trying to skip a lot of the super nerdy stuff and trying to find bits and pieces of cool information. The Islamic world. First, after the fall of the Roman Empire, the focus of alchemical development moved to the Islamic world. And the Islamic world was a melting pot for alchemy. Platonic and Aristotelian thought, which had already been somewhat appropriated to hermetical science. Now, when we say hermetical science, we're talking about hermits away from civilization, continued to be assimilated. Some had contributed key chemical discoveries of their own, such as the technique of distillation, creating alcohol, creating hydrochloric and sulfuric acids, discovery that aqua regia, a mixture of different acids, could dissolve the noblest metal. So also, if you're an alchemist, you're gonna basically know how to be a complete saboteur. As an alchemist, you're probably sought after by espionage agencies. Yeah, so all of that is basically just trying to come up with different ways to depict and think of alchemy and alchemists in fantasy fiction and in D&D. I've spent a good chunk on that so far today, so I hope hopefully you've taken some value in listening into some of that stuff. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick running of my stream break video, which is basically my spider plants and my cat. So if you want to sit in and enjoy that, feel free to. But of course, I do need to check up on Stream Raiders. We are 8 minutes out, and I think by the time we come back, we will be ready. Oh my goodness, but check this out. We have Phoenix V, the Great Emperor Fen, Kanye from the East, Barakti's Secret Satan, I guess. Pigs Really Can Fly. A lot of stuff I can't pronounce. Caterpie Stream Raider Player. Somebody literally called Stream Raider Player. Diago Sa Photo Delivery. And somebody else with a Diago Finance Hero. Something. I don't know how to pronounce some of those. But anyways, those things are not even going to be you see, Google Pronounce isn't going to even help me pronounce that stuff. But we have a bunch of units, and I think they are going to be ready pretty soon to attack. But before we come back to that, I'm going to take a super quick break. I will come back, we will run this game, and then we're going to dig into Dungeons & Dragons item crafting mechanics. We're going to compare them. We're going to take a look at some new ones. We're going to maybe think of certain ways to improve or tweak them to make them more suitable for different games. So feel free to hang out for that. But in the meantime, I bring you a quick loop of my break scene. So I will be right back, and I will see you in just a little bit.
24 hours. Best of luck. I'd done 12 hours and I realized something also. There are certain days where I'm already doing about 12 hours worth of streaming. It's not super often, but it's more often than I could justify just doing a 12-hour stream as a celebration. So I'm going to up the ante, and next time it's going to be 24. My plan for it is going to be a 24-hour world building stream. I'm going to be creating a world from scratch. I'm going to have a brand new world anvil for it. I'm going to be doing lots of writing, lots of, scoping, design, mood board stuff on Pinterest. I'm going to be basically building this thing from the ground up. It's going to be an event. I'm going to make it an event. So when that comes down the pipe, when I hit that 300, that's going to be go time. I'm going to get that scheduled and I'm going to celebrate with everybody. It's going to be great.
What? It's Worldbuilding Wednesdays. What? Yo. We coming back, yo. We coming back, yo. Laying it down. Back to live chat, yo. Hi, how you doing? So, I like having fun on the stream. So, also, I don't understand. Every time I come back to this scene, the whole chat window goes poof, and all my chats go away. I'm not sure why that is, but that's fine. That's fine. It's not super important. I'll need to figure out how to keep that rolling in between transitions. However, thank you for sticking around. Thank you for jumping in and saying hello. Thank you for lurking. Thank you for doing all the things that you're doing tonight. Once again, this is Chaotic and Writer running a World Building Wednesday stream. I also have to announce once again to all of you that, yes, in fact, I will be running a new stream. Well, first of all, upon reaching 300 followers, I will be running a 24-hour world building stream, and I am super excited to get started with that. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to plan for it. I'm not going to schedule it until I hit that milestone. So if you want that event to happen sooner, you know what to do. Also, it's completely free to hit that follow button. So I will sincerely appreciate it. But of course, that is completely, I'm stalling. But anyways, next topic is I'm actually going to be starting a stream on Sundays now. I have been in conversation with whom of which I will not name, but certain individuals within a certain stream team that is based within Dungeons and Dragons, and fantasy stuff in particular. And I will be having a debut stream. This upcoming Sunday in the evening. So feel free to pop in and witness yet another world building stream. I don't know if this is going to ultimately replace my Wednesday stream. For a little bit, it may or may not. But it is something that I'm excited about. I notice that Stream Raiders is ready. So let's pivot over to Stream Raiders really quick here, and then I'll come back, chat with you, and then we can pivot on to the next subject. Boom. So, boom. We have quite the group that is ready to go, ready to fight. We have ourselves the Great Emperor Fen, and Phoenix V with the most, right next to Kanye from East. And a number of new challengers that have decided to join the stream. So, I want you to gather your weapons. I want you to prepare your spells. And be sure to wait for the moment that Captain America stands with the hammer in hand and says, Avengers Assemble. But you are better than the Avengers. You are the Stream Raiders. So it is time, my friends. It is time to start the battle. Let's see what happens. 3, 2, 1. We have a mad dash towards our enemies, and right now the enemies are not aware of the attack that's about to come, but standard stream players running forth like crazy, and then we have a massive explosion. A lot of our people are still catching up, but it seems like the Cyberdoll snipers are coming in hot, taking out some of the individuals, but against the swarm they are no match. And our raiders are able to clean up the battlefield with ease, despite the fact that it is indeed a 4-skull match. So, who do we have? What is the top tier? We have Pigs, really can fly, with 1 kill but 6 assists. That is impressive. Following that, we do have Kanye from East with 4 kills and 1 assist. And I do believe Kanye from East is responsible for the big kablooey that happened during that match. So, let us go ahead and let's do it by the rank that we are being provided here. Pigs really can fly. We're going to confirm that, and then we're going to pick Kanye from East as our second winner. Congratulations, and please enjoy your gold rewards as we return back to the map. Now, we have a big old question mark on this map. What does this mean? This is an unknown, this is a mystery battle. So, I think the only thing we need to do is start the battle and see what we're about to get ourselves into. We have, once again, an urban Tokyo vibe. And there are a number of the Cyberdoll snipers. There are a number of the bobblers. That might be all for what we know. However, something tells me that we are going to have we might have an emergence of new fighters. So I'm going to kick this off with, once again, my trusty flag bearer. Anybody who's interested in participating in this next round, please click on that link in chat. Join the Stream Raiders and become legend as you are about to embark on the great battle of you versus them. Because I can't necessarily tell who's good and who's evil. You can roleplay whatever role you want. So feel free to jump in and do exactly that. Pivoting back to my little conversation with you. Also, you probably noticed in my break screen, there was I had some spider plants growing. I should show you what they look like nowadays, because they are a lot bigger, and I have 4 of them, not 3 of them. But I'm also working on this. This is a starter for catnip right here. As you can see, the little runt's doing A-okay, growing very well inside a very fertile shot glass. It's a big shot glass, but I think it's about time that this thing be transported to something a little bit bigger. My friend, who goes by the name Sam, otherwise known as Stitch Witch, made me this out of glass and solder. This is a wall hanging. So I'll have to find a location to set this on, and this will instead be inside that. There's a little bit more room there for the catnip to grow. So something, you know, I have a growing greenhouse / jungle in here. I noticed that spider plants do a really good job at filtering the air. And before it continues to bug me further, I'm gonna fix my chat box, because that is just tiny. I need people to be able to see what people are chatting. So chat box, let's edit the properties here. Height can be whatever, but I'm pretty sure the width is gonna be something like 300. Let's change the height on that too. Let's change that to like 700. Boom. That's a lot better. By far, by far. And let's fix it even further. I'm gonna say the height's gonna be more like 500. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Fix the chat box. Now the chat box is a lot better. Appreciate your patience on that. So, let's talk crafting in D&D. Now to do this, I'm going to pivot over to a bit of a screen share. Let me make sure that I can properly bring up that window. So there's some things to know about crafting in Dungeons and Dragons. And I would be happy to go through some of that with you. I'm gonna hydrate because I don't wanna make extra noises if I can deal with it. Crafting magical items. So it is a hallmark in Dungeons and Dragons since its inception, but there are certain ways to do it. In particular, if you're creating like a healing potion or a spell, they have their own rules in Xanathar's Guide to Everything, which is really useful. And I think those rules are more forgiving. However, for those of you that play in campaigns or run campaigns that have a shorter time frame of things happening, it can be difficult to do that. Because how are you going to create work weeks out of half of a day, right? So, speeding up the crafting is sort of necessary in order to play in games like that. You also have to consider the amount of time it takes to craft something is probably dependent upon the level of technology in that setting. And even if you're playing a fantasy fiction setting, you could probably make the correct presumption that that different games will have different tech levels, even if it's the same D&D. Even if it's the same D&D concept. So, the Dungeon Master's Guide rules are more restrictive. You need a formula that describes how to craft the magic item. You need the character crafting must be a spellcaster with spell slots available. In addition, if the item casts a spell, the character must know how to cast that spell. The character must meet the minimum level requirement for the rarity of the item, shown below. And there is a gold cost that scales with the item's rarity, which must be paid for the materials used. Now, how I've run this sort of stuff in the past, not all successfully, but how I've run it in the past as a dungeon master, is I love the idea of giving characters a quest to find the special components. especially if it's likely something that they're going to encounter on the way to a location, right? It's a little tough in this case because sometimes you're just gonna have certain situations that call for preparation. Where we are at right now in Tales of Siglasia, there is a call to action for the party. That call to action is within a day, prepare the things that you need to prepare because you're going into the breach and you're not returning for however long that's going to take. And the thing is that in that case, you do have a limited time frame. And I acknowledge that especially in the campaign that I'm running now, there are more things happening from hour to hour than there are things happening from day to day or from week to week. I tried to really change this up when I decided to run an entire session that is supposed to be a span of 3 months, which I thought was a good session. I thought that was a really cool idea. I wanted to give characters downtime so that they can do downtime activities and they can like get some things done. And I don't think it's a bad idea to run sessions like that. However, it's hard to run sessions like that consistently. And I think in this case, there is a very specific call to action. It has to be done within a day. Otherwise, bad things may start to happen. Chat says, let's see, Phoenix V says, that's pretty cool. Taking a look at my plants. Thank you very much. I love quests. I love quests too. It may be still useful for me to create some quests for individuals. And the thing is that going into this location, that is to say the Arcanist Inquisition headquarters, is a fantastic opportunity for questing, for giving individuals a bunch of side quests that they could perform or they could try to perform, which is something that I plan to do tomorrow, to present that to my players. However, there needs to be preparation before going into the Arcanist Inquisition headquarters, and that preparation is only a day. It doesn't really mesh well with some of the crafting rules, and especially if we're trying to get some certain things crafted. I've already run into this with a different player whose name is Scoop, and I've had extensive conversation with the character's name is Scoop. The player's name is Sean, and I've had extensive conversation at the beginning with Sean about how are we going to approach your crafting of tattoos, like magical tattoos or other tattoos. And I was able to help them figure out a system which was based on a lot of these rules, but was quicker. And I liked that, which is I'm still going to implement that for pretty much any crafting. A lot of it is just speeding up the process and requiring some extracurricular activities in order to justify the speeding up of it. But as it mentions here, the prerequisites are you need a formula, you need to be a spellcaster, character must meet the minimum level for the rarity, and there's a gold cost that scales with the item's rarity. So if it's a common item, according to the Dungeon Master's Guide, if it's common item, creation cost will be about 100 gold pieces. Uncommon will be 500, rare will be 5,000, and it goes up times 10 from there. Minimum levels 3. You have to be at least 3rd level to do any sort of crafting. But if you are 3rd level, you have common and uncommon items immediately unlocked to you. You just need to spend a chunk of time and a chunk of cost. Once the player meets all of those requirements, they may start crafting the item. This takes 8 hours a day. It increases the progress by 25 gold pieces per day. Once the cost of the crafting has met the item is finished. For example, an uncommon item costs 100 gold pieces. Actually, it says here a common item is 100 gold pieces, so that's weird. A common item costs 100 gold pieces to create, which would require 4 days of work, because it's 25 a day. So 10 divided by 25 is 4. A legendary item, on the other hand, costs a staggering 500,000 gold pieces and would take 20,000 work days to complete. 55 years of downtime. I have to say, that makes legendary items very, very rare. And you would have to be like an elf or a dragon or something. Or a human who is deeply dedicated to your craft and does not want to talk to people for 55 years. There are a lot of people out there. So chat says, Masters 8, hello, good to see you. Thank you very much for popping in. This is useful information since my next campaign is going to be heavy on the crafting, exploring side of D&D. You know what? I feel like crafting in D&D is such an underrated and underappreciated part of the game. DMs just don't teach themselves the rules a lot of the time, and they don't let characters know that you can craft. Like, this is something that you can do in downtime. And one of the biggest challenges is sort of coupled in with the fact, as I mentioned before, the lack of downtime that is in a lot of D&D campaigns. People are so tied to this idea that stories have to be, nowadays they're tied to this idea that stories take place within a very limited time frame because there's some sort of element that's a race against time, right? The heroes need to do something before the antagonist does something, which is a very engaging story. However, it eliminates downtime, and the elimination of downtime eliminates crafting. So it's definitely a challenge. Phoenix V says, I assume once Orgoth manages to read the book for 3 months, he'll learn more stuff to brew, right? I thought we had already discussed that you had already read the book. It only takes 36 hours to read that book. I assume that you already read that book within the 3 months or before the 3 months. I don't think there's what is in that book is all that's in that book. There may be other books to learn different things. But you also say, I never saw crafting being done in D&D, pretty much why I sent you the DM about alchemy. Yeah. And I'll be honest, it's something that I haven't thought a lot about before this campaign that I run Thursdays, Tales of Siglasia, if you're interested in watching it, everybody. It's one big reason why I didn't think about it, is because crafting, it's so simple of an idea, but it's such a mystery. And again, it's tied in with the whole idea of downtime. And so one of the things I'm hoping to get around is, how do we solve that? So going further here, it says, if the item can cast a spell, then the PC creating it must cast that spell with a spell slot every work day, and keep any material components for that spell in hand during the entire process. If the spell consumes the components, then the creation process consumes them every day, unless the item will only be able to cast the spell once, in which case the creation process will only consume them once. The cost of consumed material components is in addition to the cost, in addition to the creation cost. So the creation cost is its own cost, and then the components are separate. And that part is confusing to a lot of people because Well, mainly because, like, what is the creation cost, right? Like, what is the creation cost? I thought we're sort of thinking to ourselves, like, isn't that the components? Isn't that like me, using the components and doing that? Well, the thing is that D&D doesn't really explain it. I don't think it doesn't really explain what that gold cost is, and that's a challenge. That's not something that that makes crafting look better. It says here, luckily you can reduce the time needed to craft by having your friends help. As long as everyone participating meets the same requirements and assists throughout the entire creation, they can contribute an additional 25 gold pieces of progress per day. So what this means is, check this out. You know this legendary item? Legendary item, 500,000 gold pieces, which would take 20,000 work days, which is almost 55 years of downtime. Have 55 master wizards working on the same thing, and it'll get done in a year. So that's another way to create a legendary item. So also something to consider if you want to get your friends to help. If there's anybody else who has got spell slots that they can offer. This means 2 characters crafting together would make the uncommon item from before only 2 days instead of 4. With the rules that I'm using in Tales, there's certain things that do sort of make it difficult. But of course it's nobody, I don't think there's any character in Tales that shares a proficiency with a certain craft. So I don't think there's a lot of opportunity for that. As I mentioned before, this means your legendary item would only take 100,000 work days, little over 27 years, making a much more friendly pursuit for shorter-lived races if there's 2 people working on the same thing. Okay. So we talked about what the Dungeon Master's Guide says about crafting. It's a cool and useful way to follow it, but it is time consuming, and it doesn't address smaller things like health potions. A health potion in D&D is 50 gold pieces. Why would you be spending 100 gold pieces plus the components to make a health potion when you can buy it from particular vendors at 50 gold pieces? So this is where Xanathar's Guide to Everything fixes that. And I like these rules. I like them a lot. It allows me to actually justify some of the stuff that I've done to change the crafting timing in Tales of Siglasia. Xanathar's option for magic item crafting is much more forgiving. Integrates the process into adventuring. Using these rules, a PC requires... So in this case, with Xanathar's, it says you need a formula describing the creation process. You need special ingredients obtained through 1 or more adventures. A monster must be defeated to gain this ingredient, but you don't necessarily need a part of its body. Instead, you might need something it's guarding, for example. I imagine if it's a common item, it's something that you can pick up. It's something that you can pick up at an apothecary. That there are certain individuals that you can go to gain that stuff. Now, in the subject of that brewing kit that I provided Orgoth, Thames Corval is an individual that you could do that to. That you can go and pick up some of those ingredients from. You need enough downtime measured in work weeks. You need an amount of gold and any tools required to make the mundane version of the item, such as a smith's tools for a sword, or brewing supplies for a brew, or an alchemist kit for a potion that is not a health potion, or an herbalist kit for a potion that is a health potion, or proficiency in the Arcana skill. Nice thing that it says or proficiency in the Arcana skill. These requirements are halved for consumable items like scrolls and potions. So, let's dig into this. The cost of making the item depend on the rarity. Also applies to the suggested CR of the monster you have to defeat to acquire. For common, it is 1 work week, which is a monster CR range of 1 to 3. The cost is 50 gold pieces. However, here's the deal. In what I'm running in Tales, you only need the monster component if it's rare, very rare, or legendary. If it's uncommon or common, I don't require it. Especially because you're in a city and there are ways to get that stuff. Common items you can pick up from pretty much any apothecary. Uncommon items you can find in certain shady markets. Rare, very rare, and legendary, it's a little different. The cost is decreased. However, it does say work weeks, which is very different. The thing is, if I scroll down here, I'll return to what it says above. Actually, no, I'll just read it in order. Yeah, so the Xanathars requires 50 work weeks in order to do the cost of creating a legendary item. But you need to kill a CR 19 or above monster, which is probably going to be hard. So that's fun. That's more convenient, isn't it? Unlike the Dungeon Master's Guide option, this set of rules has the opportunity for complications to arise from the crafting process that the PC involved. By the way, if you're interested in what website I'm looking at, it's Dice Cove crafting magic items. It is one that I've looked at in the past, and it's a great summary of how these rules work. So unlike the Dungeon Master's Guide set of rules, is the opportunity for complications. 10% chance for every 5 work weeks spent creating an item that a complication may arise. This kind of goes back to what I said previously about alchemy and accidents. Phoenix B says, oh, great. Well, it gives excuses for Argoth to explore bookstores. Absolutely. Good thing I got a lot of spell slots. I was going to with Rashid, but no Rashid now. Yeah, sad face. I believe I also need to somehow add brewer supplies proficiency on my character sheet, or is Arcana enough for that? I would say that the book that I provided, that book is a special case. Anything that you're brewing from that book, you have to study the book for 36 hours, and that gives you the proficiency. I added the proficiency already to your character, so you don't have to worry about that, because as we talked, you had already read the book. But for the future, any sort of crafting, aside from the very specific and very selective, very special recipes in that book, other crafting follows other rules. So we'll follow these rules. So some of the complications that can happen from a D6 is rumors swirl that what you're working on is unstable and a threat to the community. Hold on a second. I think we might have some stream raiders to return to. Let's see. I'm hoping I did not end up closing my stream raiders. I might have. That was dumb of me. Why did I do that? All right, okay. Let's return the stream raiders. Let's make sure that I don't screw this up now, because I already started the game. Dropping the ball here, Matt. Dropping the ball. Anyways, while this is loading, I want to thank everybody who is chilling out with me this evening. I'm just going through some of the rules for crafting in D&D at this point, and sort of thinking about ways to tweak them. I definitely want to incorporate crafting as a more regular thing in this campaign and in future campaigns. Crafting is such an underappreciated and underrated thing. So now we're going to go back to the battlefield here. We only got 2 minutes left for units, and it looks like we got a bunch of people who threw down units. So we're going to be joining in on that in just a jiffy. Phoenix B says, yeah, 36 hours reading was done, and then was supposed to give the book to Rashid, but never got the chance to do it. You could always, I mean, because you're done with the book, you could always mail it to him. I'm sure there's a way to reach Rashid somehow. Okay. So let's, I'm going to turn my volume up here. I apologize if that is too loud, but I wanted to turn it up here. So some complications. Rumors swirl that what you're working on is a threat to the community. Your tools are stolen, forcing you to buy new ones. Local wizard shows keen interest in your work and insists on observing you. Powerful noble offers a hefty price for your work and is not interested in hearing no for an answer. Dwarf clan accuses you of stealing secret lore. Competitor spreads rumors that your work is shoddy and prone to failure. This may involve a rival. See those pages. I think it would be fun to run those complications. Now, talking about brewing potions. Yeah, I got a DM smirk for things. Trust me. Fun. The rules for breaking a potion of healing are different, or making a potion of healing are different from other magic item creation rules. A potion of giant strength would be created using the above rules. These potions are more straightforward. To craft one of the potions of healing, a character only needs proficiency with herbalism kit and enough time and gold for the chosen level. So for healing, greater healing, supreme healing, superior healing, it's a day, a work week, 3 work weeks, 4 work weeks, and half the cost. So, I mean, that makes more sense for the economy of D&D. How to scribe a spell scroll. If your character can cast a spell, there's a good chance you've wanted to cast more of them in a day at some point. This is where spell scrolls come in. Scribing a spell scroll requires the spell in question to be prepared or one of the caster's known spells. Material components, proficiency in Arcana, sufficient amount of downtime. Again, if it's like a cantrip, it's a day of time, 15 gold. If it's level 1 spell, day of time, 25 gold. Second level spell, 3 days, 250 gold pieces, onward and upward. And then there are complications. Those complications would be, you brought up the last of the rare ink used to craft scrolls, angering a wizard in town. The priest of a temple of good accuses you of trafficking in dark magic. A wizard eager to collect one of your spells in a book presses you to sell the scroll. Due to a strange error in creating the scroll, it is instead a random spell of the same level. The rare parchment you brought for your scroll has a barely visible map on it. These are some very interesting things. A thief attempts to break into your workroom. And then, of course, there's the conclusion. However, from this, we can have a more extensive conversation of what to change, what to adjust. But before we do that, it is Stream Raider time. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for jumping in and enjoying today's stream. I sincerely appreciate you hanging out with me during this Worldbuilding Wednesday stream. For Dungeons and Dragons geeks such as myself and some of y'all up there. Also for writer geeks and other creative geeks. Game developer geeks, other such things. We have the list of usual suspects. We have myself, Phoenix V, the Greater Emperor Fen, Juan Cha Machine, the Master's 8, He's Got No Pants, Fiesta Ken, and Baraki's Secret Satan. And I think we're ready. We are bound to this battle. We are bound to fight. We are going to have a barrage of snipers laying down the hurt. We are also going to have a barrage of bobblers trying to stop us. What is the result going to be? Well, the result's going to be that we're going to kick their butt. But let's see who gets to kick their butt the fastest. Oh, by the way, there we go. That's what I was trying to show everybody. Thank you for your patience. I was screwing that up a little bit. Let us begin the battle. So, gather your weapons. Prepare your spells. It is time to rid this urban Tokyo-esque village from the scourge of Denzians that are not you. So, go, Stream Raiders. Conquer. Preparing for battle. 3, 2, 1. And they're off. There's a lot of people running forward, and right away they are going to try to attack the Bobblers, but the Bobblers are running away. There are some smart cookies trying not to engage. Meanwhile, we have some of the snipers running up from behind. And it looks like we have the first barrage of Bobblers taken out. We have, unfortunately, a lone Phoenix V flying rogue chilling there. Everybody seems to be stationary, unknowing that there's a bunch of snipers heading out. Everybody's having a good time. Everybody's celebrating. They have no idea. Oh my goodness, no! Oh no! My guy got killed. So, there is a really tough barrage. Lots of people are dying, but they're closing in. They're about to take out the snipers, and with a final victory attack, we have our wieners. Those wieners are the Masters 8 coming up at the top spot. Then we have Wancho Machine. Wancha Machine coming up in second place. Third place being He Got No Pants, followed by Phoenix V, and so on and so forth. So I can only award one winner. So right now, that's going to be the Masters 8. Congratulations. You've gotten X10 to your gold rewards. The Masters 8. All right. I believe that we're going to be able to complete at least one more of these battles. So let us go forth to confirm our next appointment with death. If it'll let me. Hopefully it'll let me. Because we just completed that. It's not gonna let me? Hello? Yeah, it says question mark. I'm trying to click on it. Grrr, how dare you? How dare you defy me? It's not letting me do it, chat. It's not letting me do it. Masters, you broke the game. You broke my game, and now I can't play anymore. So what does this mean? Okay, so I can't click on anything right now. I mean, I can hover over the stuff, but I can't click on it. I wonder why that is. My mage is too powerful. Yeah, I'm gonna reload that game, play as captain. We're gonna see what happens. In the meantime, as we're talking about crafting, so here's what I've done for my friend Sean, my player and friend Sean. Now Sean is a satyrkin who does tattoos, and so based on the fact that the creating a magic item is supposed to take 25 gold pieces for 8 hours of work based upon certain pricing, I sped it up for him, basically saying that 25 gold pieces for 1 hour is the time cost. The Masters 8 says, my mage is too powerful. Refresh? Well, on that note, I must retire for the eve. Later, peeps. Hey, thank you very much, Masters 8, for popping in and saying hello. Yes, now we can start this battle. Fantastic. Once again, Masters 8, just to let you know, I will be having another world building stream, and that is going to be Sunday evening. So stay tuned for that. And also tomorrow is Tales. So everybody who is interested in participating in the fun with world building and with Dungeons and Dragons gameplay, of which I always try to make it a show. I always try to add some flair of role-playing finesse and trying to set the scene with clever wording. If you are somebody who enjoys that kind of thing, who enjoys storytelling, then I have news for you. There is a follow button on this Twitch channel. You can go ahead. You can go ahead and click on it. It is absolutely free, and the reward will be to be following a channel that does all those things. So please consider supporting this channel. When I reach the 300, as it's coming up soon, the 300 follower threshold, it's going to be go time, because at that point I will be scheduling a 24-hour world building stream, creating a brand new world from the ground up, of which I hope sincerely to run games in the future. And it's going to be something very out of the box. It is not going to be your typical setting. Trust. So if you're very interested to see what I may cook up and sort of what my starting place is going to be, then the only thing you can do is hit that follow button. And your followership is appreciated. The other thing I want to plug is I do have a YouTube. And I am releasing YouTube videos now. So feel free to go to the doobly-doo, click on that YouTube link. Please. It is also free to click subscribe on the YouTube link. My goal is to reach 100 subscribers so that I can have a unique URL, and I'm not interested in cheating to get there. I need organic button clicks. That is important. That is beyond important. So in which case, yeah, feel free to do that. And I will love and appreciate you long time. Anything to help will do wonders. So thank you very much for your viewership and your patronage. So we are already getting a head start on Stream Raiders. And we have a bunch of units in. Oh, we have something different this time. What is this? This is a walla beam. Ooh, something's happening. Some very interesting level 20 units are coming out of the woodwork. This is going to be a challenging one. We have 1 of 4 places to throw down, and then we have some enemy Tengus. So, my captain, as always, is going to be the bearer. I'm going to help everybody out. Make everyone stronger through my own do-goodingness. Anyways, let's pivot here, because I want to show you sort of what I figured out as a basis to start for my friend and player, Sean, Blackman Inc., who plays Scoop. So I'm going to paste this to a Word document and I'm going to show it to you. Let's bring that over here, and then I'm going to make that a source so I can show you what I've done for that. Word document 4 is what it is. Okay, cool. Boom. Sweet. That is way off kilter though. I gotta fix that. Oh, because you full screened it, that's why. That's not what I want. Capture Chrome. Okay, so that's accurate. All right. Just want to make sure I'm not screwing something up. Oh. There we go. Oh, there we are. Okay, solving problems. I get it. Oh no. Not really solving problems, just creating new problems. Streaming isn't the easiest thing in the world. Okay, cool. So let's get rid of the ribbon here. Let's not do always show ribbon. Can we collapse the ribbon? Full screen mode. Oh no, that's too much. That's not what I was doing. Get out of full screen mode, please. No, get out of full screen mode, please. I'm having fun. Okay, show tabs only. Yeah, but get out of full screen mode, you ding. You dingus. Come on now. Come on now. There you go. Okay. So, here's what I cooked up for Sean. Based on the fact that the creating magic item takes 25 gold pieces for 8 hours of work, based on the pricing in those rules, I'll speed it up by saying 25 gold pieces for 1 hour. And I did that for tattoos, particularly for, it's particularly important for common and uncommon magic items. And the big example of this is if we're looking at the spell rot tattoo. Spell rot tattoo, if somebody gets a spell rot tattoo, it's basically a tattoo that's like a ward. It's a symbol on your body that stores a spell. It's like a spell scroll. This is one of the things that Scoop can do. Scoop can create these. So if you want a spell that is basically a spell scroll, but want it stored on your body as a tattoo, then ask Scoop to help you with that. However, if you want to, but the thing is that the rules for spell rot tattoo with the system that I'm adapting, just running it faster, I think makes a lot more sense. Because if it's like a cantrip, just a common spell cantrip, it would take 1 hour to do. If it's a first level spell, it would be 1 hour. Now, for I'd have for uncommon second level, this is where it jumps up to like 8 hours. This is where it would take pretty much the whole day to do it. And by the way, when I say 1 hour, this is 1 hour out of an 8 hour workday. So the maximum in a day would be 8. So that, it could be something useful, but it takes 1 hour to create it. So in the faster pace, less downtime setting of Tales, this is what I've come up with as an adaptation. It works for me, and it definitely works, and I feel like it works for Scoop. Although Scoop's done it a few times, I don't know exactly if Scoop is. I'll have to review with Sean once again how Sean feels about the system, but I feel like the system we came up with was pretty good. Now, if it's third level, it jumps up to 20 hours, which is 2 or 3 days. Fourth level is going to be 100 hours. And then fifth level is 200 hours, which is 2 weeks. And the thing is that each of these I saw see absorbing tattoo on time frame. Now, under absorbing tattoo, I mentioned, where is absorbing tattoo? Where did I put that? It was up at the top here. Absorbing tattoo and similar rarity, very rare, requires attunement. It's not consumable. This is tricky because it's permanent and very rare. Following the rules, it's 25 work weeks to complete. Even if I followed my above change, it would be 1.5 to 2 months for a very rare. It's different here. Oh, for very rare. This is just rare. Long time to work on a single tattoo. And once again, if there was ever any need to do anything that was very rare, like at a higher level, there's not a lot of downtime that's run during the game, unless I decide to do another session that is a downtime session. The thing is, it creates very limited opportunities to do it. So even if I follow the above things, therefore I recommend we make any tattoo that requires more than 8 hours, rare and above, particularly, so rare and above, reducible with a specific magic component or set of components. Also, from the beginning, you won't know any beyond uncommon rarity. Not a big deal since the cost is a component you don't have anyhow. Now, this has changed because the Eldritch Claw tattoo, which is uncommon, has been done. The other tattoo is the barrier tattoo, which varies. And I believe they went with it was the rare one, if I'm correct. Or the uncommon one. I'm trying to remember which one. I'm gonna have to double check. So it's 12 plus your dex. I do believe it was the uncommon one. It was 12 plus dex. Which is still useful because, let's say, for example, if you just don't have any armor or anything, it's nice to have it's nice to have something that works better than not having anything, right? And then, of course, there is the capability of going to rare and very rare, but that's going to require very specific things. And honestly, it's going to require a very specific ask. If I'm never asked about that, if that's never brought up, then there's no opportunity for me to create the conditions for it. So, little hint for you, Phoenix and Sean. If you have intentions to do rare and very rare, you gotta reach out to me so that we can set up what the conditions for that are. And then there's other stuff like the Illuminator's tattoo, Masquerade tattoo. These things are common, very easy to do. They are not consumable, so instead of it being 1 hour, these are 2 hours. So that's sort of my ruling. If it's a consumable item that's common, it's 1 hour. If it's a non-consumable item, or if it's a greater than health potion kind of item, greater than health potion or greater than common spell scroll, then it's going to be 2 hours. Yeah, so that is my timing change. That's what I agreed to in my campaign when it comes to crafting. When it comes to crafting tattoos, which also applies to crafting potions and crafting spells, I would presume that I would very, very much presume that if we're talking about like magic items, like actual magic items, like building a sword or doing anything like that, I don't think there's been any case for that. I don't think anybody has that as an ability in my campaign. Is that crafting is something is not, crafting is something that I sort of thought about and implemented partway into my campaign, so character builds are not really geared towards that. However, I do see that there may be some interest to get a rare option. So it will require specific magical components or set of components. It will require a quest, and it will still require time. It will be reduced time, but it will still be time. So if you're talking about anything that is rare, the base is, like it says here, a week. But in this case, it would be more like a 5th level rare. So it would be like 2 weeks, maybe reducible to a week and a half or 1 week with components. But also, then again, it's still locked behind needing components anyways. So, yeah. So honestly, it's gonna be something that will probably take. It'll still take a chunk of time. It'll take some definite downtime that at this point in the campaign will be a little tricky to get a hold of. I don't know if there's gonna be any more situations where 3 months will pass. maybe a week will pass or something like that, or a week and a half or 2 weeks. So there is opportunity for that. However, one other thing that is worth talking about and worth mentioning is what level do players get magic items? Because there is sort of a guide on when to implement these. Although there's different charts I've seen. I'm trying to look for one in particular. Somewhere around what's the right level for giving magic items? So they typically say, let's go back to what it says here. So let's close that down. Oh no, I need to open up my Chrome again. There we go, Chrome. There you go, Chrome. Here it says, sort of what they suggested broadly is common and uncommon is first level or higher with a particular gold value. Rare is 5th level or higher. Our characters are at 6th level. So the thing is that anywhere between level 5 to level 11 is when people can start expecting rarer items, right? And I think in this case there may be at least one rare item in the party. So that is something worth mentioning. But of course, I recently played a one-shot DM, except for Moss. I had practically no magic items in the group. You can only have 3 attuned items. Now, tattoo counts as one of those attuned items. How rare are magic items? How many should I be handling? Yeah, so I think that pretty much I think that's pretty much speaks to when certain levels of magic items should appear at one point or another, right? I think this is fair, but of course, 5th level doesn't mean that everybody has a rare magic item now. That's just when it's earliest applicable, right? So, I think the rare item, yes, that's right, the Dragon Slayer Scimitar, contingent upon finding a dragon that you can fight with it. But you are going into an alchemist's, or that is to say, an arcanist's tower. So that's something that's going to be pretty eventful. For those of you, of course, once again, for those of you that popped in, I want to say thank you, welcome. This might be a good time for me to do all my plugging stuff. So let me do that, and then I'll come back and we'll do a kind of a final wrap up and talk about magic items, crafting, and implementation. So let's head back to the advert. Hello. My name is Chaotic Writer, and I am the Dungeon Master, World Builder, Storyteller, and Big Papa of this stream. I want to thank you for coming out, hanging out, and just chilling with me this evening. I typically do this most Wednesdays, but I will start doing world building streams on Sunday evenings. So if you have availability for that may be a exquisite opportunity for you to jump in and support a new stream schedule slot. There are a number of pies I have my fingers in. One of them in particular is a website of my own development, of my own creation, of my own writing. It is called chaoticandwriter.com. It has a bunch of things on it. It has a bunch of articles that I've written. It has resources such as random name generators and links to. I need to provide more link pages to it because there's a lot of use to collect resources, right? But if you could please check it out. Please tell your friends if there's a particular random name generator that you really like. Definitely tell your friends about that. I love making those, and I will be making plenty of those in the future. On top of that, though, I want to let you know that this stream and this website runs on coffee donations and whimsy, for the most part. And there's a bunch of stuff that I have my fingers in, a lot of pies. I am developing more YouTube videos nowadays, talking about stuff like this. Some of it is snips of my streams packaged to cover a certain subject, or there are a couple yet that are legitimately videography, like that. They're basically it's stuff that I've written up in a script that I've done a lot of videography work on, and you can expect some of that in the near future as well. There's also this stream, and there's the website. A bunch of different places that I have put content out there. And there is overhead. I don't expect to make money off of this stuff. It's pretty much free. However, there's still overhead. There's still costs for hosting. There's still costs for the thing, this, that, and the other thing. Cost for the cost for me running the faster internet so that I can do streaming effectively. So to help alleviate some of those costs, I do have a Patreon. It is a place where if you enjoy the content, then you can certainly click on that link in the doobly-doo and pledge to a tier. It could even be just a simple thank you at $1. Let's say, okay. Hey, if you want to participate in any other rewards, though, if you want to participate in one-shots that I run on this stream, such as Honey Heist, or I will be running also Shadowrun Anarchy at some point this year, probably in the next month or two. Feel free to take a look at that tier as well. Your patronage is appreciated, but probably even more important than all of the patronage via monetary stuff. What's even more important is just outreach in general. Your love and support as a viewer, as a fellow world builder, as a fellow creator, as a fellow storyteller, fellow dungeon master or D&D player, whichever the case may be. So, if you enjoy this content in any way, shape, or form, please consider clicking on that follow button. Once again, 300 follows, and I will be announcing a 24-hour stream that is all world building. Also, there's a YouTube, so down the doobly-doo. Also, subscribing and following is free. It is free, does not cost you a thing. So feel free to do either one of those things. And of course, thank you very much for tuning in. Anyways, that's my spiel. Let's quick go back to our presentation, which is all out of whack and looks really weird. I want the screen capture one. That's the one I want. Yeah. So let's go back and let's see. Phoenix V says, let's see. Yeah, we'll definitely need to talk about it with Scoop for the 5th level spell scroll tattoo and eventually a barrier upgrade. Well, I know I got a blue sword, green axe that will be given to Draco. Barrier tat. That is green so far. Trying to remember what the blue sword is. Blue sword, green axe, and blue sword, green axe. Oh, rare sword, right? And the axe that will be given to Draco. Got it. Yes. Level 11 or higher for the very rare barrier tat upgrade. Sounds fair to me. I imagine the campaign is going to go through probably level 12, 13, something like that. Phoenix V, just to make sure, That 5th level spell tattoo is only doable if the spellcaster can cast 5th level spells, right? This is where I imagine that, and the thing is, I've talked with Sean about it. Sean has a spell book, I believe, and that spell book is basically kind of like a tattooist, book. It's like a scrapbook or whatever. I imagine that it is useful for you and Scoop to get together to exchange spells. So probably a good idea. There's also opportunities for other spell books to show up. So those are still going to be opportunities. But reviewing once again, the creation of magic items in D&D, or the creation of items in general. There are other ways that I've run this. One thing that Sean was pointing out, actually, is there is a different set of rules altogether. I think this is homebrew, that we can take a look at really quick, because I want to compare these. These could be really cool. Let's do Tales of Siglasia session chat. Is this it here? Kibble's Compendium. Kibble's Compendium of Craft and Creation. This is how many pages? 320 pages. Wow. There's a foreword. There is Inventor, Scion, Psionic Disciplines, Class Tools, Barbarian Bard. Oh, this is a whole thing, isn't it? This is published by who? Kibble Stassi. Homebrew. It's a homebrew compendium. This is a homebrew compendium. He probably bought this. I don't imagine he shared it with me though. Inventor, Gadgetsmith, Golemsmith, Infusionsmith, Potionsmith, Thundersmith, Warsmith, Fleshsmith, Cursed-smith, Runesmith. There's a lot of new things in here. But of course, it's not just that. There's different kinds of scions and psionic disciplines. There's new barbarian paths. Path of the Raging Mind, Path of the Exosuit, College of Thunder, Mystery Cults, Circle of Nightmares, the Tech Knight, Way of the Soul Blade, Oath of Sanity, Specialist, Mind Reaper, Gadgeteer, Ancient Intelligence, new backgrounds, new races in concept, forward. This means when you awesome people make this book exist. Thousands of games people have played in context. Love working on this book now because I love building with layouts. This is pretty extensive. Wow. And then of course talking about materials. So definitely making a lot of new armor crafting table, leatherworking. Okay, let's click on this. Let's just see this for a moment. Leatherworking is often seen as something of the light armor equivalent to a blacksmith. It covers quite a bit more ground. Quick reference. Select the item you would like to build. Acquire the items on the list. Use our leatherworking tools to craft. For every 2 hours, make a crafting roll of D20 plus your dexterity plus your proficiency bonus with leatherworking tools. On success, you mark 2 hours of completed time towards the total crafting time. On a failure, the crafting time is lost and no progress has been made. And here's this. So let's say, for example, we just want to make hide armor or leather armor. Leather armor is, it's generic leather armor. You need 3 rawhide leather and 2 buckles. Takes a crafting time of 4 hours. Takes 2 checks. Basic difficulty, common, and 10 gold pieces. I like this. This is actually pretty cool. Studded leather. Now the only thing is then we need to look at the materials. So rawhide leather, metal scraps, and buckles, right? So let's go back here. No. Rawhide. That is a safe line. We need to look at materials. Boom. These magic materials or these other materials? I want to see a listing of materials. Essence type, okay. Leather and hide. These are leather scraps, rawhide leather. Rawhide leather is what they're talking about. Purchasing tables by type, okay. So it's rawhide leather and probably like metal scraps used for tinkering, blacksmithing. Which one is used for leather working? Maybe it's not used for leather working. But then there's also stuff like a buckle. Buckle. There we go. Buckles for leather working. Okay. So you have to actually purchase the individual stuff, and it breaks it down. Thing is that one thing as a DM I've been a little shy about doing is making players keep track of, like, okay, so I personally think that players need to keep track of their gold. They have to keep track of their gold, and they have to keep track of their essential items. But to be fair, there hasn't necessarily been not a ton of opportunity for people to do a lot of like buying, and I think there's sort of this loosey-goosey feeling with what items you have, what you're carrying, and like what you can do with stuff. There's much more micromanagement with doing stuff like this, for sure. We can talk a little bit about that in a moment. But first, we're gonna pivot. It is time, my friends. We have enough individuals to begin a battle. Now, significantly less than before. And we have a much more threatening array of people to fight. However, I am confident that we can take over this town and claim territory for ourselves. We can free this Tokyo-esque village of its diabolical thievery, of its nasty chancery, of its scourge of scum and villainy. So, gather your weapons, prepare your spells. It is time to go in and to fight. All right, so we have people heading towards the southeast to take care of this first batch, and oh my goodness, we are going to run into a lot of complications. I think we are not going to make it to the other side. We have a lot of fireballs raining down on our units, and those units are coming down at an astounding rate. We are in trouble. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. Oh no. It is a loss. Spam this cheese to bring victories. We were overwhelmed. It was beyond our capabilities. But I think for this evening, that's going to wrap it up for Stream Raiders. Let's pivot back to this, as we're kind of taking a look and assessing. This is a lot of crunch. You know, crunch. Not necessarily number crunch, but item crunch. This basically means that I would need to set an expectation to the players that micromanaging items is going to be an important piece of the puzzle. That I will need to better set up. Yeah, I would need to better set up Foundry for doing more purchasing, and there's like more items dropping off of creatures and stuff like that. I would have to do more micromanaging in order to prevent players from having to extensively micromanage. I like it in theory, though. I like that there's this entire like build of what items there are, what are the rules for crafting some of that stuff, and to take a look at some of the